Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here. It is Monday, November 6th for us in the United States. As you see on your right, to my right, we have a guest host today, Ginny Parent. Ginny, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting
Yes.
me to serve as a co-host.
Yes, when Mandy was traveling for business, the first person we thought of was you. So we're so grateful that you accepted our invitation to co-host. And we're just excited about our guest today. Now,
Yeah, I am.
did you do anything fun or interesting this weekend?
I reunited with friends who I hadn't seen in over a year, and it was all women, and we made candles and took walks, and yeah, it was beautiful. How about you? How was your weekend? I know it was busy.
I was moving this weekend, so it's quite hectic. But we're here. We got everything set up. That was my main goal, is to get everything all set up here so we could stream live with our guests. We're so excited. So that was the excitement of my weekend. An amazing, transition for me. So I'm happy.
Yeah, so
Uh,
you moved from California to Las Vegas,
I
right?
did, yes, from Los
Yeah.
Angeles to Las Vegas. So we're here now, and we're going to explore the city and get to know it and see what happens. So I'm excited about that. Um, So I want to tell you a story about our guest. So our guest today, Pauline Nguyen, she's coming to us from the future. So right now it's about 8 o'clock a.m. where she is on Tuesday. And I first met Pauline when I was the host for the digital MPI Meeting Professional International WEC conference in June. And Pauline was amazing. It was an amazing interview. She vibrates on a very high vibration. So this summer, I was writing my book, and I went on a writer's retreat to Minnesota. I was in Grand Marais, Minnesota, and I was listening to her book when I was there. When I was driving there, because it's like a 3-hour drive from Duluth, and when I would go for walks in the morning and night, I was listening to her book, The Spiritual Entrepreneur. And so whenever I think about my writing retreat, Pauline's voice is in my head because I listened to the whole book while I was there with so many walks, and it was amazing. I was taking notes and going back and re-listening. So with that, I would like to bring Pauline Nguyen to the stage. So here's Pauline there. We give you a round of applause there.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome to the show. And I think I always love to start with an interesting question. But see, I already asked Pauline my one interesting question in Cancun. So I'll start with this one here. And you said in the past that nothing grows fast in safe spaces. What do you mean by that?
You know, when you hear, first of all, I want to thank you for having me, and it brings me joy to hear you say that you were listening to my book. I also have some very powerful meditations, and it brought to mind when some of the men who listen to my meditation say, I go to sleep with you every night. And now my wife also goes to sleep with you every night. So we go to sleep with you together. And
Yes.
it makes me giggle. It was a joy to meet you in Cancun, Amani. Thank you so much. And yeah, I love what you said about my keynote as well. So thank you. What do I mean by nothing grows fast in safe spaces? Every next level of your life is going to demand a next level version of you. And so I hear so much when people give me feedback and they say, oh, you know, I'm in a safe space. I want to meet like-minded people. And so when you say that you're looking for a safe space, it is assuming that the space is not safe. It's presupposing that whatever you're going to go into, there's danger involved. But we don't do these things to stay the same. We don't do these things to stay the same. And so we have to accept that when someone says, you know, I want to be around like-minded people, I want to be around people with the same vibration, but I don't want to be around like-minded people. I want to be around people who think unlike me. Otherwise, there's no growth for me. And so to assume or presuppose that we're always looking for safe spaces really slows down our growth. That's what I mean by nothing grows fast in safe spaces.
Okay.
Love
Okay. I like it. I like it. So, you know, Ginny, I will go back and forth. We'll play like tennis with the questions. So, Ginny, I'll let you ask your first question.
Sure. I think I need to start at the baseline for our viewers and our watchers, right? So, Pauline, talk to us. What is a spiritual entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a really great question. I'll tell you what a spiritual entrepreneur is not, what spirituality is not. Let me chunk it down first. I teach a very different type of spirituality. The spirituality that I teach has nothing to do with religion. Right. I just need to make that absolutely clear. To be spiritual is to live your life in spirit and inspired, and being very deliberate about that. And so we craft our life by absolute design and not default. So questions like, hey, what do I need to do in order to feel the way I need to feel? What do I need to, what purposeful actions do I take every day? Asking other questions like, who do I need in my orbit to help me to get to where I want to go faster? And so we're very deliberate about the people we accept into our field. And then, of course, you know, we've been so mind-centric for so many decades. It's now all about the heart. The third question, what would love do? What would love do? And having that understanding that we're here on this earth to do three things: to evolve, to push humanity forward, and to do it with joy. And so, you know, joy is very deep and permanent versus pleasure, which is temporary. So it leads back to all those three questions. What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? Who do I need in my orbit to help me to get to where I want to go faster? What would love do, you know? And what spirituality is not, it's not peace, love, and mung beans. It's about standing in your power. So we speak very much about power and not force. So a spiritual entrepreneur designs their life so that they're always living in their truth, so that they're not living by the old paradigms of you got to work so hard that, you know, you get sick and diseased and diseased. It's consistently standing in your power. So what does that mean? That's a very, I guess, a phrase that's thrown around a lot. It has to do with sovereignty. What does it mean to be your sovereign self? This is the idea that there is no power or authority outside of you. There is no power or authority outside of you required to live your own independent life. And so what does that mean? We take full responsibility for our actions. We take full responsibility for the chaos we've created in our lives, and consistently asking, if every next level of my life demands a next level version of me, how can I continue to upskill? How can I continue to up-level myself? How can I continue again and again to create the best version of the greatest vision I hold of myself? Because we owe it to life, right? Armani tells us that he's moved from LA and is now living in Las Vegas. And, you know, someone at 50 shouldn't be doing that. It's like, yes, you should. Yes, you should continually be reinventing. We're not meant to stay safe. We're not meant to stay the same, you know? And then on a personal level, what does standing in your power mean? It means no more self-betrayal, no more lying to yourself. We speak authentically with skillfulness and truth and candor. And so what is candor? There's a lot of skills that come with candor, right? And so it's this profound commitment to reveal rather than conceal. And so this profound commitment to reveal our stories, to show ourselves as our vulnerable true self. And how can we take that into entrepreneurship, into our business, and have that shine like the sun from the inside out in everything that we do? And I think that is the most impactful influence and persuasion skill that you can have in this game called business and in this game called life, right? And when we are our true self, it takes no effort. It takes no effort. When we're living a lie, that's when you get really tired and age really quickly, because you're living someone else's dream and not yours.
Yeah, that's the stressor, right? That's when we feel the pressure, the stress, when we're not living authentically.
Yeah. So beautiful. Can you kind of expand on that? Because you gave me some great reasons as to why you feel we're meant to move around frequently. Can you kind of share your thought process on that?
Well, don't you think we owe it to life to continue to give life to life? It makes no sense for me that, okay, I've gone to, I've had my education, I've got my family, I now live in a house in the suburbs, and I'm going to live here and just do this until the day I die. Don't we owe it to life to every time we learn a new skill, every time we develop a new character trait, every time we meet new people, create new businesses and create new offerings to better the world, we create new genes. We actually live a longer life. I want to be around for my kids. I want to continually be creating new experiences. My children are watching me. My children are watching me. And so I think the best way that we can influence and teach people is by exampleship. And that's exactly what it is, to live your life in spirit and inspired. You're not going to be in spirit and inspired if you stay in the same space until the day you die.
Right.
And also, it's very boring. Let's face it. It's very boring. We will die a very slow death with, this in quiet misery. But you know what? If that's your jam, knock yourself out. We all have a choice, right? We all have a choice. But I dare say it is my hallucination that everyone listening to this podcast is not in that space.
Well, and I've also read, right, we create new neural pathways, right? When we learn something new, when we grow. Yeah.
Don't you want to be around? Don't you want to be around longer for And so the spirituality that I teach also is, I really believe it's time to take spirituality out of the clouds and back into our bodies where it belongs. What does that mean? So it means, it's not this airy fairy woo woo. I don't teach, tarot card reading, crystal balls, palm reading, all those things. That's I leave that to other people to do. But what I do is the semantics. So we have to understand how human behavior works, how have some understanding of NLP, how human nature works, the mechanisms of our mindset, but then also taking it back into our bodies, the somatic. If the question is, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? We can change our biochemistry so quickly through the correct movement. Jenny, you're in nutrition, through the correct nutrition, through the correct breath work, activation, meditation. So not only do we have to see things from a semantic level of mind, it has to also be the somatic of the body, because this body here, this instrument of consciousness, was with me from the day I was born until the day I die, right? You're going to have to work on this one. And then the third part, this is the secret sauce why I get incredible results for my clients, is I combine it with the soulmatic of the spirit, the shamanic practices, based on nature's medicine, based on sound medicine, based on frequency and vibration of the voice, of the drum, which mimics the heartbeat. So it's always the connection between the semantic, the somatic, and the soulmatic. And then the magic happens there.
Oh,
Love it.
So,
So
Pauline,
go ahead, Jenny, then I'll go after you. Go ahead.
What do you see? What are the greatest mistakes? And I even hate to use the word mistake, but what are the greatest mistake entrepreneurs tend to make in your experience with your teaching?
So I the people who come into my world
Mhm.
are either spiritually bankrupt.
Yeah.
They may have a lot of money in the bank, and they're
Mhm.
like, I have a lot of money in the bank. I've got all these houses, I've got all these cars, but why am I still miserable? Why am I diseased and diseased? Or I have clients who actually come to me who are really quite ill. And what's the missing piece? When you say mistakes, there's gazillion mistakes, right? Financial mistakes, emotional mistakes, relationship mistakes, but the missing piece is their spirit is down the corridor playing cards, ready to leave, already gone since, right? Right.
Mhm.
And so and they're asking the simple questions like, when was the last time you laughed?
Yeah.
When was the last time you really enjoyed your sexual energy?
Yeah.
When was the last time you were around in spirit and inspired people? When was the last time you were just deliberately silly and playful and childish? We get shit done as well, but we
Mhm.
do it in states of passion, power, poise, play, perpetual silliness. And so, what is this? This is medicine.
Mhm.
This is medicine, and they've
Yeah.
shut down their lives to the medicine. And so one of the things that I encourage them to do is, in your day, have you checked how many times you allowed your body to experience love?
Mm.
Have you write a tally? Write a tally.
Yeah.
How many times a day did you allow your body to experience joy or relaxation? Write the
Yeah.
tally, and then it's like, oh, I woke up and I looked at my dog, and there was so much love for my dog. Okay, write that down.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed my coffee, and love my coffee. Okay,
Yeah.
write that down. I went in and hugged my child, and there was so much love. Write that down. And then when we pay attention, and then your dog comes,
I know.
and then we pay attention to those things, and we write those. Do you think that when you pay attention to something, you're going to amplify more of that?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
What
so and then what we find is that, holy shit, I actually experience love and joy and relaxation and play so many times in my life. It's just that cognitively I don't acknowledge it. And
Amani,
so
I
we
know it's your turn, but Pauline, what do you say to the folks who say, "Oh, that can wait for the weekend," right? That's what I was for years and years. Wait for the
yeah.
weekend.
Okay, I don't say anything to them because they're fighting to hold on to their problem.
Mm.
If you asked me before what's one mistake I see, I don't call them out on their mistake because I need permission. I won't say anything to those people who say, I'll leave it to the weekend. If you are fighting to hold on to your problem, who am I to fight with you? I have no desire to fight with you. Carry on. Who am I? Um, enjoy your slumber. I'm going this way. I have
Yeah.
no desire to fight those who are fighting on to hold on to their problems. And so it always works better when we have permission.
Mhm.
Once you have permission, do you give me permission to hold your hand while we walk down the long hall of mirrors? But I need your permission first. Otherwise, we're both wasting our time. And so, to answer your question, what would I say to those people? I wouldn't.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yes, that
Okay.
makes sense.
So shout out, Mandy is tuning in from the airplane. So thank you for your dedication and paying attention, Mandy.
Mandy.
Enjoy
Hi,
your trip.
Mandy.
So also shout out to Marilyn, who's in Rancho Santa Margarita, California. Now my question is, I have a two-part question. I'm going to read a quote that you shared, and then I want to ask a follow-up. So the quote is, "The life we live are the lessons that we teach. So we all have the responsibility to teach what we have learned. Why is this important?"
Oh my goodness, it's one of the most important things. I'll add to that. The life we live are the lessons that we teach. The lessons that we teach must be the life that we live.
Mhm.
And so we are in this space, Armani, where we're in business, we're in entrepreneurship, we are keynote speakers, we teach, we mentor, we coach. People can smell a bullshit artist a mile away.
Mhm.
If you want to learn from someone who has walked the walk. Learn from someone who has had direct experience of it, not from some young'un who's spent $7 on an online NLP course. You want someone who's, fallen to their knees in business. You want someone who has lived life and has the stories to tell, the direct experience, because then there's a difference between knowledge. You can learn anything so YouTube as much as you want, but when you don't have the life experience, you have no wisdom. That's when wisdom comes in. So there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Learn from those who have the wisdom, who are now wise because they've actually walked it. They have the stories to tell. They have the different perspectives to tell. And so we have to teach what we know, because people can smell a bullshit artist a mile away.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
it's
Now,
the life we live are the lessons that we teach, but the lessons that we teach must also be the life we live. We have to walk the walk. We have to be influential through exampleship.
yes, yes. Now, the second part would be, what lesson have you learned since I last saw you in June?
Oh, how long ago was that? June.
4 months
I
ago. Yeah.
yeah, it's always so much more than 4 months ago, isn't it? So one of the this is a personal question. This is a personal response, and I am going through. I'm 51 this year. I'm going through menopause,
Mhm.
perimenopause, and so my body has changed. My posture has changed. My a lot of things I used to be able to do, I can't do anymore. And at first, it was, wow, this is this what it's about? It's and I was challenged. I was frustrated, and then it's like, okay, I also have the ability to reframe this, to really reframe this. And as when I was challenged to go, all right, I'm going to fight this. This is not happening. This can't happen to me. And my reframe is now I wake up and I find all the love that I have for this glorious body. I love you, my body, for
Yeah.
carrying me through all these years of celebration and turmoil and turbulence, and allowed me to give birth to two beautiful, beautiful children, allows me to still work hard every day. And so it was that shift where this is another part of, take the spirituality and all these theories out of the clouds and put it back into your body. And
Mm.
so I now give so much love to my body every day, more love than I usually do. And so it's that celebration of this vehicle, of this beautiful instrument of consciousness. And that was a huge learning piece for me, because I know for many, many women, it's a struggle. And of course, we do the 3D stuff. I've seen a doctor,
Mhm.
hormone therapy, getting it balanced, trying a whole lot of different things for so long. But the thing that changed and really taught me a lot was, whatever happens, my body deserves more love, not less.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you for sharing. Over to you, Jenny.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I coach women perimenopause. I'm 49, so I'm right there. And so it's such a it's such a different time. And I love
It is. Yeah.
you talked, Pauline, about how, you attribute much of your success to lots of things, but re-engineering beliefs,
Yeah.
re-engineering your beliefs. And I mean, you just taught, that was just the most beautiful example of reframing.
The life
And
we live have to be the lessons that we teach.
exactly. Exactly. So what do you say though to those entrepreneurs who are stuck in their way of thinking and their way of looking at those things, and they want to become more open, and they want to change how they reframe, how they think differently?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your advice?
Yeah, so you just gave me permission to answer the question, because you said, for those who want to
I
change.
learned.
Yeah.
You just taught me
Whereas
that.
for those who
Fast
do not
learner,
want
Jenny. Fast learner.
Hmm.
for those who don't want to change, I don't
Right.
speak to them, but there are steps, and I'll it's I have a very, very powerful um uh course, and you have me live for 3 months, called the Spiritual Entrepreneur Accelerator. 3 months. It starts in February. And you can have a look at all the testimonials on my website for the profound, profound transformations. But I need permission first. I need permission so that you can get out of your own way. But what I would say to those people is, we play in the semantic, the somatic, and the soulmatic. The very first step is, if you give me permission, we can walk down this long hall of mirrors together. Why do I say it's a long hall of mirrors? Because it's a beautiful journey to understand your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful self and why you do the things that you do. Because when we understand all those things first, then there will be less fear. The better we understand ourselves, the less we fear change in the world. The better we understand ourselves and know ourselves, the less we will fear others. The better we understand ourselves and know ourselves, the less we are going to fear ourselves and our own power. And so it's a beautiful journey to understand yourself better. And what is at the end of the road? I was saying earlier, I teach, what am I selling? I'm selling freedom.
Mhm.
Freedom from old paradigms, freedom from the shackles that you've created for yourself. I'm selling the freedom to play, to express, but all at the same time, we get very serious about business and entrepreneurship. We never let, it's 1 foot in the spirit world and 1 foot in this very real 3D world. And that's why it's called the spiritual entrepreneur and not the spiritual hippie. But so to answer your question, Jenny, it's that first opportunity to really understand self. Because how can you possibly understand others or the external when you don't understand self first? That's the first part of the journey. And so the course is 3 months. The first month is about power. And I explained earlier on this interview what power and sovereignty really is. And then life changes. Life changes. We're surrounded by synchronicities and synergies. And we learned this in the second month about influence, about relationships, influencing ourselves, how to influence others. And then the third month is called magnetism, how to become a badass manifester. Once we now know our power and then understand our influence, we get to now play in the quantum field. We get to play and how we influence the quantum field. And it's what is spirituality? It's simply physics that has yet to be explained.
Yeah. I love the timing of this interview because February, it's going through holidays, and then you have the opportunity to take the course. It sounds amazing.
Now, Pauline, you've been through an immense amount of trauma. How can one get through feelings of resentment if after trauma, resentment still exists in their mind?
So if I can make the distinction between the traumatic event for me was growing up with a father who suffered terribly from PTSD. The traumatic event was being beaten up from a very young age until I ran away from home at 17. And it was mental, physical, emotional, spiritual abuse. We were also made to work in the family businesses. So I think mentally and physically, we were strong. We were really strong. I started working full time in the family businesses when I was 7. We had to get good grades as well. Otherwise, we were beaten with instruments. And spiritually, emotionally, we were a mess. We were an absolute mess. So that is the traumatic event. When we speak about the trauma, when you say, Armani, the trauma that we hold in our minds, trauma also is locked in our organs, locked in our bodies. And so this is why my method is, we not only speak to the semantic of the mind, we also have to understand where it's located in the heart. Why is the heart so contracted? Why is the fear and shame still stuck in our hearts and our kidneys and our livers? And this is why we have to now address the somatic of the body. How can I now get rid of the trauma? The trauma is the response to the traumatic event. And so the event is so far gone in the past, but is because it's still stuck in our bodies, which is why we relive it. But we're reliving it now as a very different, evolved human being or not. Or not. And then, of course, the soulmatic work, the quantum work, the shamanic work, that's when the healing really is done from a DNA level, from a cosmic level. And so, first, you have to understand that that is the traumatic event so far in the past. And if you wish, if you're still not wanting to fight to hold on to the identity of victim, if you want to let that go, if you want to let go of victim consciousness and now adopt and make firm decision that you now want to have the identity of co-creator, creator consciousness, then we can go and have some fun. And let's now do all the somatic work to release that from your body so that it's not holding you shackled anymore. And so there's processes, right? There's processes. It's not as easy as Pauline answer a question on a podcast and you're done, because you're repairing decades of work. But when we can understand that's how it happens, we work with the semantic of the mind, somatic of the body, and then we go soulmatic as well. And we can fold time, and it happens very, very much quicker than expected. I have a client who, I have a lot of clients with very similar stories. He was seeing a psychotherapist for 6 years, was in jail for drugs and a whole lot of crime. He came out with a lot of trauma. And he'd read my book when he was in Kenya. He has a business in Kenya. The book is The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur, The 7 Secrets to Becoming Fearless, Stress-Free, and Unshakable in Business and in Life, the book that you read, Armani. And so he came to Australia, and we'd booked in for 6 sessions. We had probably 2 sessions, and he said, feeling good is my new norm. I didn't realize that this was available to me. I didn't realize. And it's really powerful work. And that was he and I meeting at sunrise. When I told him, okay, we'll meet at first light. It'll still be dark. You need to walk out through this field where we'll be standing on the cliffs, watching the sun rise, because it's the most potent, powerful healing potency, healing frequency of the day. And so we literally watch the sun rise so that it activates the mitochondria. We heal from the inside out. We do the breath work. I do the shamanic work. We are surrounded by the power of the ocean, Mother Earth, Father Sun. And then after a couple of hours of that, we will jump in the ocean so that we can be ignited through the salt water, which is the most powerful Faraday cage, nature's most powerful Faraday cage, and it will neutralize all these harmful EMFs that's holding into your body. And we will do movement work. And he said, "Are you on crack?" He said, "Are you on crack?" And I said, maybe. But 2 of the 6 sessions is like, far out, feeling good is my new norm. I didn't realize this was available to me. And so many beautiful stories like that. So many beautiful stories.
So through all that, how are you not resentful from your past?
Because I decided, Amani. I decided. I reframed, and it was making me sick.
Mhm.
I didn't want to be victim anymore. So I'm not resentful. I was when I was an amateur human being, but when I decided to have children, it's like I need to be more professional, a more professional human being than this. This is not good for my spirit. And so I look back at all those years and I see it as my training. It is my
Mm.
training. Mm.
Yeah.
Over to
We
you.
all have so much to learn from our path. And yes.
Yes.
So Pauline, I have to, it's kind of switch gears just a little bit because we have to talk food, right? So yes, I mean, your connection with the restaurant business and getting into that and your passion for Vietnamese food. Yeah. Just talk to us about, why was that important to you? And I do love, by the way, your comment about your first book, right? You wrote it and it was about your life, but you framed it as a cookbook because you thought no one would read it. Is that
Oh no,
But
no. For the audience, the book that I mentioned earlier, The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur, it won best small business and entrepreneurship book of the year in the year of its release. The book that you're speaking to, Jenny, is called
okay,
Secrets
thank
of the Red Lantern,
you.
Stories and Recipes from the Heart.
Thank
I
you
have a
for that.
restaurant called Red Lantern. We've been in business for 21 years. It is the most awarded Vietnamese restaurant in the world. We just won another award on Tuesday, so pretty good for 21 years still. It's not easy. We've fallen to our knees so many times, but we're still around simply because we have more grit than anyone else we know. um, when you say why is it so important to me, Jenny, it was literally beaten into me when I was a kid. My parents had a restaurant, an ice cream parlor, a video library, a driving school, a cafe. So he was quite the entrepreneur. And we all worked, my brothers and I worked in the family business, a lot. I started working when I was 7. And so along with that, there is always this, my parents practice mastery. There's always something they can do better with said recipe. There's always a better way for this for these coffee beans to get extracted. There's always a better way to froth the milk. There's always a better way to cook this broth. And so that sense of mastery was always had been drilled into me at a very young age. And so we have a beautiful restaurant now. We have had for a very long time. And I'm a professional eater. I say that seriously because I was a food critic at one stage. I know flavor, I know texture, I know quality, I know not quality. I'm not a professional chef though. I can cook, but I don't chef at the restaurant. But what is it all about for me? The Red Lantern, its motto, its credo, its inspiration is to uplift the human spirit through the alchemy of flavor, hospitality, and heart. I don't know any other restaurant that has that as the driving factor, to uplift the human spirit through the alchemy of flavor, hospitality, and heart. And so it is very much creating the ecosystem. When I travel the world and I speak on stage, that's where Armani and I met in Cancun. It's to share the Red Lantern story, to share the story of how that weaves into spiritual entrepreneurship. I have a very famous brother called Luke Nguyen, who has a whole lot of cooking shows and cookbooks around the world. Mark, who is the executive chef of Red Lantern, the father of my children, very passionate about sustainability and the ethics of what we eat. So everything that we do, we just weave into this beautiful ecosystem of what we've created, because the life we live has to be the lessons that we teach, and the lessons that we teach must be the life that we live.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh, just the connection with the spiritual piece, and then with what Amani said. I mean, you could look at food and you could look at restaurants in such a negative light, but you choose not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and look, the book that you speak of, I won debut writer of the year for it. It became an international bestseller. No one was more surprised than me. But what I did do was, it's a very dark and personal memoir. I share that story on stage as well, but I disguised it as a cookbook so that people would buy it.
Yeah. Yes.
And
There
so I
you go.
think the three emotions that really connect human beings on a very deep level is joy, love, and surprise. Joy, love, and surprise. And so they buy that book as a cookbook, and then they read it and they're like, holy shit, this is not a cookbook, this is more. And so the beautiful recipes from my restaurant Red Lantern, and then of course the deep and a personal memoir woven through. So once they've read it, it's a beautiful surprise for them, which is full of love and joy.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So, shout out also to Maureen Sloan. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you being here. Before I turn it over to you and let you ask us questions, I'm going to borrow 2 questions from someone I love, Jay Shetty. And he has a set of questions he asked. I love these 2. So, first is, what's the best advice you've heard or been given?
Don't take yourself so seriously, Pauline. I can be serious, but I'm perpetually irreverent and perpetually playful and silly. That's what keeps my spirit high. But if you understood my history, we grew up very serious, very, very serious, so much armor to protect myself, to keep myself in safe spaces, but armor is heavy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Armor is heavy. And with the people who learn from me and follow me, because I'm so skilled now at de-armoring, I give them permission to de-armor themselves. And so it's not, doing this work is not about what other thing can I put on to, make myself so big and shiny. It's like, no, what more can you take off? Take it
Yeah.
all off so that you stand in your naked freaking glory of the true essence of who you are. That's when the fun starts. And it's like, you mean I'm allowed? I'm allowed to do this? It's like, we are allowed in this life. You are allowed.
Yes.
And it gets fun because when everything matters, matter is heavy. Matter is heavy. So we really embrace the lightness of being, and we live a very, very different life when that happens.
I love it. Part two to this
Beautiful.
question is, what's the worst advice you've heard or been given?
Just do the one thing, Pauline. You know
Who
that one?
told you to
You
do
know that
that?
one? Do the
Yes.
one thing. And it's like, but I can actually do many things and do them well, like really,
Yes.
really well.
Mm,
And it's not about multitasking. It's
yeah,
about mastering one thing. Okay, what's the next thing? We
yeah.
master another thing. And so they think, mastery is to be very disciplined, and to be disciplined is to punish. I don't punish myself. I'm very disciplined, but disciplined is to be a disciple of life, a perpetual student of life. How can you be a perpetual student of life if you just do the one thing? If you just stay in the same suburb until the day you die, if you just have the same friends. And so that's the worst piece of advice I've been given. Pauline, do the one thing. And I refuse.
Yes. As you should refuse.
Yes.
Amen. So now we're to the point of the show where we flip the script so you can ask both me and Jenny a question, any question you want to, and we'll answer it. So who do you want to ask a question to first?
I'm going to ask Jenny a question first.
Okay.
Okay.
What is no, actually, if you were to think of a photograph,
Hmm.
think of a photograph now that means the most to you. Can you describe it to us, and why does it mean the most to you?
Hmm. So, an actual photograph, or I'm creating the photograph, Pauline.
An actual photograph.
Hmm.
It's an insight into your past and what you treasure and value
Hmm.
and visualize.
Yep. I think it would be a photo of my sister, my mom, and me at the foot of a park at the kind of base of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco with my 2-year-old son, Charlie, and my sister holding my little nephew.
and
And
and and why does it mean the most to you?
hmm, some of the most important people to my life, and my mom is not well. So it's when she was well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. So family is so important to you. I love that. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for sharing, Jenny.
you. Yeah. Thank you.
Amani, if you think back now at your childhood, and it was either something someone told you or something you found out about, what is something about your childhood do you find the most surprising?
Mm, the most surprising. Huh. I would say, so growing up, I played soccer, and I played like really high level soccer, and my teams would always
Did
get
you
to the
know this,
championship.
Jenny? I didn't know
I
this.
didn't know this either. Uh-uh.
Yeah, yeah. We'd always get to the championship game in like the state finals, whatever, and we'd always lose. We'd never,
Wow.
we'd always lose. And my dad would always take me all over the country to play soccer. And he was always there at the games. And then he was a professor at college. He sold real estate also. And so what's surprising is two things. how did he make the time when he was working 2 or 3 jobs to travel to all my games and be there present consistently, practices consistently, never wavered. That's one thing that's shocking with just how busy we are now, and I just don't know how I would fit it in. And then when we would come home from these games, he said later on, he said, I just really admire how resilient you are to be able to come back and not want to quit soccer after losing so many times at a high level and it being crushing defeats. So those will be two things that come to mind.
That's amazing. And so it wasn't really surprising about yourself, Amani. It was surprising about your father. I love
Hmm.
that. And he did all that because you were a priority to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
Yeah. Um, so what I'll do is we have a couple more minutes. I'm gonna do a little word association with you. Then I'm gonna turn over to Jenny for her final questions. Then I'll ask my final questions. So when I say this word, just share with us the first
All right,
thing
let me
that comes
tune
to
in.
mind. It could be a word or a phrase. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The first word is courage.
Courage is a love affair with the unknown.
Mm.
Generational trauma.
Generational trauma can be ceased should we wish. I'm direct experience of it.
Yes,
Direct evidence of it. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I asked. Fresh fruit ice cream.
To make sure that the fruit is actually fresh. It is fresh fruit ice cream is so much better than artificial flavored ice cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
True.
Nice. The glamour.
Avoid the glamour and the drama.
So what people okay, just share really quickly. When I say the glamour, what does that mean to you? Because it has a special meaning for you.
Uh, um, avoid drama. The first of all, drama. Those two go together. Avoid drama. Avoid the drama and the glamour. The drama is the goal in life is not to get emotional and flustered. It's to remain centered and in homeostasis. We go there and then we come back. We go there and we come back. But to be caught up in the glamour of things, the glamour is so superficial. We don't do superficiality. Glamour is superficial. It's surface. We don't do high performance. We go deep performance. And so for something to be so glamorous, it's what else can I put on to make me glamorous? And so
Mm.
we avoid those things because what it's we don't do superficiality. It's false. So when you say glamour, I immediately think drama. What is glamour? Glamour is dramatic, right? Avoid drama and glamour.
Mm.
Yes. Amen. Final one, fear.
Mm. I love you, my fear. I love
Why
you,
it's
my
last. That's why it's
fear.
last.
What do I fear? I fear stagnation and lack of progress. I fear never reaching my potential and being average. I fear being forgotten, the past, yesterday's news. I fear giving up and being passed by, going softly into that good night. I fear letting those I love down, letting myself down. I fear settling, giving into the that's just the way it is mindset. I fear dying without leaving my mark. I fear not feeling these fears anymore and just floating along because these fears feed me. They nourish my drive. I love you, my fear.
Hmm. Yes, if we were in a poetry reading, we'd be snapping our fingers.
Yeah.
Snapping our
Yeah.
fingers. Go ahead, Jenny.
Oh my gosh. Well, the one thing I didn't comment, and I really wanted to, Pauline, when I listened to your book, your voice and how you speak, it
Oh,
just,
thank you. Even with the
yeah.
Australian accent.
But it's so, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
vibration. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So Pauline, your last, I guess, as we start to close this out, yeah, what's kind of the lasting thing you'd like our listeners to remember when it comes to, the spiritual side of entrepreneurship?
There is so much energy and joy and happiness and playfulness And when I say live life with ease, it's not easy, but with ease. This is all possible. It's all possible. It's accessible to us. We were born with it. It is that we fight so hard to hold on to what is not it. And so when we can change the frame of when we say it's too much, it's too much for me to do, it's like no, it's actually already part of your inherent nature. It is only you don't think it's accessible because you're fighting so hard to hold on to what not is versus what is already naturally available to you. And if you want to go down this path, it's such a joyful path. And if you do the work, you get the pay. And when you get the pay, you get to play a very, very different game of life. And then the magic happens. And then you know what? The universe rewards you for living your truth. The universe rewards you. Then you get touched by the divine on a daily basis. You start to experience mysticism regularly. And then you get to live life with joy and happiness. Why? Because it's your birthright. It's your birthright. And when we can see life through a very different lens, it gives permission, right? For us to open the aperture.
Yeah.
The more
Awesome.
perspectives we can hold, the more free we will become.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So my final two questions are really two-part. It just has to do with advice. So advice for up and coming speakers, because I know you're a speaker coach, who are looking to break into the speaking industry and thrive.
What's the question?
What advice do you give? What advice do you give someone who's like trying to get into speaking and they just want to get into it, do the work, and thrive as a professional speaker?
Yeah. I remember speaking to one of my students who first came to me, and I said, do you realize are you prepared to put in the work? Do you realize how much, because when we are playing at this level of the game, we get paid very, very well. We get paid up to 30K USD for a 1 hour keynote, right? You are going to want to put in the work. You are going to want to put in the work. What does the work involve? To really, really speak truth. People in the audience, they can smell a phony. That's why the life we live have to be the lessons that we teach. Make sure that everything you speak on stage and teach is in line and congruent with what you do. Why? Because you're not in service. You're not in service to people, you know? And so the first part is to get the story, to get the mastery right, to know your stuff so much that it doesn't feel like people you don't look like you've practiced it, but you owe it to the client, you owe it to the audience to get it so polished that it doesn't feel like you're just, casual and blasé about it. So get the skill set, the stagecraft, the wordsmithing, the tonality, the cadence, the non-verbals. That's a skill set and a mastery piece. You have to get that right. That's a given, yes? That's a given. But if I were to give you one piece of advice, which is something that I teach that I don't really hear everyone else teach, is that it's a given. You got to know your shit, right? So let's put it there. Let's park it there. That's a given. Amani, you can't be a DJ unless you know your music, unless you know your tech. Jenny, you can't be an integrative nutritionist unless you know all of that. That's a given.
Yeah.
But when we can understand this one very important universal law, what is a universal law? It's a law of the universe. It doesn't matter what gender, what race, where you are in the world. It is a universal law. And it is the universal law of supporters and challengers. Supporters and challengers. It doesn't matter how much you know your shit. It doesn't matter how good you are. There will always, always, always be supporters, and there will always, always be challengers. Even on this podcast, I'm absolutely certain that the law of supporters and challengers exists here. In the audience, you got to know your stuff. That's given. But when you know that in this audience, doesn't matter if it's 40 or 4,000 people, there will always be supporters and there will always be challenges, whether it's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10. It doesn't matter, but there will always be supporters and there will always be challenges. When you know that, we are no longer stressed about, oh, there were some people who didn't like me. It's the universal law. It's a universal law. When we know that and we know our shit, there is no stress. There is no anxiety. What it is, we just get to play. And then we just play.
Exactly.
Well,
Final question for you. If you could go back and talk to Pauline when you were, I think you were 17 when you left home,
Yeah.
and give her advice based on what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Baby girl, practice more joy. Choose thoughts that create more joy. You will always be held. Go forth. You will always be held.
Thank you. So, Pauline, just thank you very much for such an amazing interview. I'm not surprised because I knew it. You just dropped so many gems on us, shared so much wisdom. So we're just forever grateful for you being on the show. And I just can't wait to see you again in person whenever you come back to the States. So I just want to say thank you and give you a round of applause.
And a round of applause for yourself, Armani and Jenny, and your listeners. And feel free to check out my website and the courses that are coming up. Life will never be the same again.
Yes, yes. And the best way for people to reach you besides your website, is it LinkedIn, Instagram? Where should people find you?
I've been quiet on social media. I've been servicing my community. I've been busy doing that, but I'm back on track. I'm more active on LinkedIn and Instagram. Email me, Pauline Nguyen.com, and I love to connect and ask me any questions from there as well.
Awesome, awesome. Round of applause. We'll put you back at the green room. So round of applause here for that. Yes. So Jenny, amazing job as a co-host. Appreciate all the thought and time and energy you put into your questions and interacting. So thank you. It's been a pleasure for us to have you here with me. Any final thoughts from you?
oh my gosh, I feel like Pauline just gave the power back to us.
Yes.
So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this and to meet Pauline.
We have your Instagram scrolling on the bottom there. So it's Shift Life Jenny. So people, please follow Jenny there on Instagram. Also, make sure you follow our Adventure in Business Live LinkedIn page. It's there. Just search Adventure in Business Live on LinkedIn. And then next week, Mandy will return from the Caribbean. We're so jealous. Yeah. And we will have Tim Mulligan with us next Monday. So excited to have Tim on the show. Thank you all for watching, listening live, and the recording. We will see you all next week.